Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the U.S. National Championships out on Zwift. We've got about 6 minutes and 50 seconds to the start of the men's race. The women's race, 11:47. I'm joined by my co-commentator, Greg Leo, for the National
Nathan.
Championships of the U.S. of the A. Today, Greg, we got a course in front of us that we saw earlier today for the UK. Things were super
Yep,
tactical, but we got a little bit of a different race today than the UK races. That was for a top 10. This is for all the chips.
absolutely. I think it'll be really interesting to see how the tactics differ from the race where the goal was just to get into the top 10. Here, the goal is absolutely get that top spot. So it'll be interesting to see. Same course, similar kind of quality of riders, and how they take this race a little differently than the British National Championship.
Yeah, so as far as the course goes, Zwift National Championships today is happening all day long. We've had a lot of races so far, but for each of the races, it has been 2 laps of the Watopia Figure 8. What is the key points out on course? I think it is that reverse, but then we've talked a lot about that really sharp climb, the forward KOM. I think each race seemed to have come down to that or a sprint, hey, Greg?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think the Ford KOM has definitely been the attrition point in the British national race and many of the other races that have taken place today. Which unfortunately there's just so many we can't stream them all. But looking at the times and the gaps, I think that forward KOM has really been the sticking point on this course. They see it twice. It's a relentless 1.5 minute climb, and it's just going to sap the legs of these riders.
58.8 kilometers total, right around there. 2 laps, 4 climbs, and Ocean Boulevard in the middle of it all each lap, as well as the Essies. Can't forget about there that's always a section of the course that definitely has opportunities exiting Ocean Boulevard. A lot of times we chat a little bit about that, and that being sections each time that they do hit that part on the course. But as far as the favorites go, obviously we're going to be having the defending champions out there today for the U.S. It's going to be Adam Zimmerman, that's been donning that jersey for 1 year straight, as well as Claudia Behring, who is going to be looking to defend. Interesting enough, are both of them racing at elevation, if I'm not incorrect?
I believe so. Adam out in Colorado, and Claudia Behring, I think, as well. So both at altitude. I know Adam anyway. That for Zimmerman, that's kind of a badge of honor for him that he manages to do as well as he does at altitude. We've actually seen him, at sea level in a number of races, and his performance does really improve at sea level. So it's kind of too bad we don't have a live final here at sea level. But we'll see how it all goes.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. I mean, if it does come down to a sprint, it may be more about the fast twitch muscles than it is about how much oxygen
Hmm.
that can get into the legs throughout the duration of the race. But with how fast that they've been climbing, especially that forward KOM, it really can be difficult if you are racing at that elevation. So we'll see if he can pull it off here, though. The both of them have been racing in the KISS Super League. They've, I believe Claudia took this past week off, but and DS'd a little bit, I believe. But both of them on
That's
the
right.
All Stars team. So I think Adam. It almost looked like may have been focusing in on this race specifically, though, over the last couple last couple of weeks, but. Any other favorites that might be out there today that they're showing up for the race? And we got 587. That's actually more riders than we saw signed up for, I believe, the UK race, which is actually quite surprising to me. So almost 600
Yeah.
in the pens here for the men's race and 67 in the women's. So out of those 600 riders, almost 600 riders, any other favorites,
Ooh.
obviously besides the defending champs?
Well, there's no way I could name them all, but one rider that's kind of new to the scene is Brian Hodges. We've seen him recently kind of move up the rankings on Zwift, and he's got a great sprint. He can definitely hang in these hills, so he might be one to watch out for. He's actually not on a team, so we'll have to look for his name and be watching out for him. Some of the other riders as well that we have seen a lot before is maybe Matt Brandt, who's got a great sprint. Neil Ostenfeld is kind of an interesting character. He races on rollers, which is kind of cool. He's a roller Zwifter, and he manages to hang with these front groups, and he does have an excellent sprint. So, man, what a coup that would be if someone won this thing on a set of rollers.
That'd be pretty awesome, actually. A little bit of balance going on there. I am seeing we do have Scotty Weiss in there, as well as Casey Shum, obviously
Oh,
being one of the most experienced Zwifters out there. Michael Podsline I'm seeing signed up. Mike Schwartz, I'll be watching out for a couple of those names. There's at least familiar names for the US of A on the men's side of things. Ryan Gugliano's out there. Chris Beck, professional mountain biker at this ultra endurance level as well, but definitely quite a few names. I mean, there's obviously with 600 racers out here, there's going to be plenty of names to mention, but amongst the ladies, I'm looking for the top ranked ladies. I think Claudia may be the top ranked that I've got here on the rankings right now for Zwift Power over on ZwiftPower.com. But as far as the rules go, just before we get going here, everybody, the heart rate monitors must be worn. You cannot be winning on Z Power. You have to be registered on Zwift Power. So if you are signing up for the race, obviously those things. And then it is also going to be looked over by the race officials in order to make sure that everybody's on a verifiable power source, so that everything is kosher between the racers here. So 5 seconds to go here. U.S. National Championships. Who's going to take down the title? 2 laps out on Watopia Figure 8. Let's see how the usual fast, crazy starts start. And I do see Casey Shum here. Jim McQuaid there for draft in the support, most likely, role of Adam Zimmerman for that defense here of the jersey out there on course here. So Jim McQuaid making his way forward here. Now on the right-hand side of the screen, let's go ahead and bring Zwift up into the larger box here. But on the right-hand side of the screen, you do see that the rider that is highlighted on the right-hand side, for those who are unfamiliar with Zwift, if you haven't Zwifted before, and it's your first time seeing a Zwift race, that rider, Jim McQuaid, as you see on the right-hand side, is highlighted, who we have highlighted right now. In the upper right or left-hand corner, you can see his current wattage, his heart rate, as well as his RPMs. You can see what place he's currently in at the top of the rider's nearby list on the right-hand side. You can also see the current section of course that they are on up on the mini-map above. You also see what the current rider that is highlighted, what gradient they are experiencing from their smart trainer, or just what gradient they are having to fight against with their wattages if they do not have a smart trainer actually on. Watts are watts, so the effort being put out is going to make that avatar go at a certain speed out on that course depending on the gradient. Looks like the initial breaks, though, are going to start happening as soon as we hit Ocean Boulevard here. It's going to be fast and furious here from the get-go. It's going to settle down, though, a lot of times as they take this initial left-hand turn into the underground tunnel. We'll work our way forward and see who's deciding to make the initial efforts to drive the pace at the front. We've got a low here, actually, from Finesse, as well as Hagel. It looks like Beck here riding for the indoor specialist team as well. And currently hammering away to 145 beats per minute, 408 watts. I have a feeling this is going to be all about looking forward to the first climb on the reverse KOM. Probably not a whole lot besides the initial front group peloton split. That, I'm just not thinking that a whole lot's going to happen. The only danger spot that I could see before that KOM is going to be the climb out of Ocean Boulevard into the windmill section. You could get dropped off there if you were too far back in the pack because of simply positioning out on course, I would think.
right. Yeah, we saw a little bit of posturing in the British National race. Kim Little hit the front, climbing out of the tunnel, and really pushed the pace there, which was kind of surprising. So early on in the race, you can burn a few matches. You're going to recover them throughout the race. It's a long race. You do want to manage your energy as much as you can, but at this point, you can stretch the legs a little bit, put in a few red numbers, and not pay for it too much at the end of the race. But I think overall, all of these riders are going to be just trying to manage their matches and manage their energy until those climbs.
Yeah, 100% agreed there. I think the climbs are definitely the point that we were looking at. We saw earlier today, actually almost in every race, we saw the racers fairly calm until the forward KOM. And as far as courses go, this course is pretty iconic as far as it definitely brings in every original climb or original part of Zwift when you first jumped out on Zwift, if you were there in the early days when Watopia first launched. Obviously, the extension, this being the first extension on Ocean Boulevard, but besides that, you've got the forward and the reverse KOM. People have been racing on that from day one of Watopia. Having both of those in there is definitely kind of almost a throwback to what we used to race all the time, kind of a thing. Now with all the different
Hmm.
worlds, you can have something different from week to week, day to day. But this is the original when it comes down to just absolutely suffering straight up for the Watopia Figure 8. It's really a great course, and I think it's a great all-arounders course for 2 laps for these riders to take on to really prove what they've got because it has a little bit of everything. The reverse KOM, as we do see Yanko as they do head toward that reverse KOM. Yanko here from the KRT team now 163 beats per minute. A little bit of orange numbers. Casey Shum now from the All Stars team here pushing the pace a little bit as well. SG from the AFC, it looks like there, and looks like followed up by Golard there from the Fox. But as far as the all-around nature of this course, Greg, I think the opportunity is there for just about any kind of rider to shine. I mean, you could break things apart if you put enough matches in, with a team effort. You could find a situation with a solid breakaway. You could try and get away on something more of a climb that's a little bit longer, up to about almost 3.5 to 4 minutes, or the punchy climb of the forward KOM. There's something kind of for everybody as far as their abilities do or have to show up on the day.
Absolutely, and we've seen this race play out in several different ways today in the various national championship races. You and I covered the British national championship race earlier today. That ended in a fairly large bunch sprint, but the Belgian national championship ended in a breakaway today. So there's an opportunity for this race to go many different ways. My suspicion is this one will end in a bunch sprint as well. There's a lot of strong riders here that can hang together. But there's going to be a lot of opportunities for teammates to try different things on these climbs, and we'll see a lot of different kind of abilities shine in this race today.
Yeah, I definitely think the course really gives to everybody having a chance at it. It's not just a sprinter's course, not just a climber's course. It's not just a pure ruler's course. Everybody definitely has an opportunity with this course to try and throw down and grab that jersey. We're back in with the women now. Well, they're actually in with their start here now as they are taking off toward Ocean Boulevard. As we can see, the lead out, it looked like it was going to be Team Fearless up toward the front end of the pack as they did jump into here. I am seeing Kristen Armstrong out on course. Interesting to see,
Oh
and
wow.
we'll see how that's going to play out, as well as it looks like one of the Show Air 2020. It's going to be Corka here now, hammering away. So good to see them. This is, I think the KISS Super League with the pro racing is starting to bring a whole lot of pros to the table to try and take down some of the community races we've seen them, as well as now jumping into the national championship race now. I think, Britt Mason's out there as well. It looks like Mason with draft in the name I can see there. So that would be one to be watching out
Hmm.
here for Britt Mason, one of the strongest sprinters that we've seen come out of the community as well. But they're going to have to work it out for them with a couple of pros out on course.
Yeah, actually, it'll be interesting to see how draft plays this with Claudia, the defending champion, and Britt Mason, one of the most dominant crit racers we've seen. We saw her at the Kiss Crit in Long Beach. She won both the points competition and the overall. She took every points sprint and the overall. So she's definitely got the sprint. If this ends in a bunch sprint, she's going to be the one to watch out for. So it'll be interesting to see how draft manages their resources in this one with two extremely strong riders.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there is reality. I think Claudia could get away in a breakaway. The sprint situation for her, she definitely has a solid sprint, but I would think they would leave it to Mason perhaps to try and take that down. If Mason can make each one of the groups, that would definitely be, I think, within her cards at least. Trying to take down that W there, but good to see Amanda Korka showing up here from 2020 show air. Now, as far as breaking away and getting away and staying away, if I'm not incorrect, I believe that is Kristen Armstrong. It says K Armstrong there. It has a verified badge. I didn't actually check Zwiftpower.com to make sure that I was not misspeaking there. But as far as being able to break away and hold on to a threshold effort, I don't think there's a better rider to show up and try and do that in a 1 hour race. I mean, multiple time Olympian, multiple time world world class. This is world class. It's about as good as it gets. If she's showing up in shape, I'd be watching out for Kristen for some sort of a breakaway out here today.
Yeah, but as we've seen in the KISS Super League, experience in Zwift and with the kind of Zwift physics does provide a huge advantage to riders. So, she's definitely got the fitness, but she's probably going to be fighting against some of that experience. A lot of these, a lot of these other riders who have done hundreds of races out on Zwift, they're going to be able to conserve a little bit of energy. They know the climbs, they know the positioning. So she's probably going to be at a little bit of a disadvantage because of that. But certainly she's not one to count out.
Yeah, the power might be able to overcome the disadvantages, but we'll see, because as you said, in the KISS Super League, it has proved difficult if you do not have the tactics down. Let's jump into the men's race, though, as they're starting their first climb over on the reverse Watopia KOM. It is going to be back on the front here for the indoor specialists now, hammering away up into those 9 to 10 watts per kilometer. Now, the initial climb here is the most crucial point out on course, as the most crucial point actually on this climb, not out on course, but on this climb. It is an initial up to, I think, into the teens for the gradient, but then it does calm down quite a bit. Greg, you want to speak to a little bit how this climb tends to play out? It most definitely turns into a tactical climb, not so much an all-out everything you got to the top.
Yeah, definitely. Most of the work happens at the bottom of this climb. Really stretches out usually with that face you hit of 11, 12, 13% gradient. And then, they get to this section where they are now, where it's a really steady climb. There's even a little bit of a descent. So there's a lot of drafting to be had here. Often what teams will do is they'll put one of their stronger riders on the front, like we see with Chris Beck here for the Dirt IS team. He's going to drive the pace, because with a little bit of a gradient, every watt he puts out, when there's not as much draft to be had, the riders behind are fighting a little bit more. So I think what they're trying to do here is use the slight gradient to try and sap some of the energy of the other riders. And we can see, actually, this group is starting to diminish already.
Yeah, it is actually already getting a little bit of a break here. Interesting to see that we already have this this group trying to jump back onto the wheels here and just barely making it happen. It looks like Jim McQuaid here off the back. This is going to be like maybe one of the first riders to bite the dust off the back here now. It does look like it's going to be Siebert, Mike Schwartz, we were speaking about a little bit prior to the race. One of the higher ranked, I believe, in the top 20 over on Zwiftpower.com here. First there, and it looks like if Andy from Splunk. It looks like, as well as Weiland here, almost back onto the back here. Hodges as well as Gonzaga there. Bobby there, as well as Nelson, and quite a few riders that I'm not super familiar with the names here. Some riders coming out of the woodwork here to jump into the Zwift U.S. National Championships. But up and out of the saddle, McQuaid almost back on terms here. If you do not grab on, that 2-second gap, though, very quickly can turn into about 15, 20 seconds on this downhill if you do not grab onto those wheels here.
Absolutely.
We'll see what kind of a KOM we've got here as we head up and over the top. We were seeing as low as a 3:15, I believe it was, over the climb as the riders made their way. 3:18, a little faster than the some of the earlier national champions the first time up and over the top. So they're definitely pushing the pace with a little bit of a break as riders do try to grab onto the wheels there. There is drafting in Zwift, as you do see the meters opening up between them. And each one of these riders is just going to be looking for the wheel right in front of them to hold on to the pace. It does look like it is going to be a solid group, though, of about 51, 52, 56 riders, perhaps, if Andy can get it back on to the wheel here. Avergu here from, it looks like unattached, riding unattached here, 56th, 57th place. 3 seconds out, and this is one of the worst situations to be in here as it starts to just roll away
Ooh.
from you. You're putting in as many watts as you possibly can. If they don't work well together here, it is going to be said and done for this group that's trying to make the chases. It goes out very quickly to 6 seconds here, and this group up ahead is not going to be slowing down one bit as they do have plenty of riders to drive that pace forward here as it's out to 6 seconds. Jay Rose here has to put down a solid 7 watts per kilogram probably to bring that back at 58 kilometers per hour. We can see at the top of the screen here, the pack sitting at 3.6 at the back here, but going at almost 60 kilometers per hour. Definitely traveling faster than the group behind. The effort is going to have to be huge in order to bring that back. Adam Zimmerman here, 170 beats per minute, current defending U.S. national champion, looking to try and keep that jersey today. We'll keep an eye on him throughout the day to make sure he has made each one of the junctures. And look at the team. Look at how organized they are. All of the red kits that you're seeing here for draft are definitely there in support of their rider, Adam Zimmerman, completely surrounding him and ready to close any gaps that might open up, but not riding on the front, making, the reservation at this point is most definitely there for draft, as it looks like they're just following wheels and waiting for those key moments out there.
Yeah, this early in the race, there's always plenty of riders who are keen to pull on the front. We saw Chris Beck sit on the front of that reverse KOM for the gradual section, and actually that time is one of the fastest we've seen in the British National Championship. They did a 3:14 on their second time up, which was one of the fastest times ever put down on Zwift. So to see already a 3:15 on their first time up, it's a blistering pace so far.
741 riders. Obviously, everybody's out here looking for a W and looking for a national championship kit, and no wonder we've seen one of the fastest times already on the first time around. And this isn't even as this isn't even as the riders are putting pressure on yet, as they know they are not going to be getting away this early with a whole lot of Ks in front of them. 12.8 in. We've got a total of about 58, 59 kilometers to go, or 58 total, 58, 59 total on the day. The women are starting their climb on the reverse KOM that we were talking about, though, and at the front, the pace is being driven, it looks like, by Kaplan here for Vilo, then Claudia Baring, now the defending national champion. Pitzer's there now as well toward the front for draft, it looks like, as draft has shown up on the day in support of their champions. We'll see if they can hold down the wheels here and support the same way that we were seeing in the men's race. But Baring here, 5.8 watts per kilogram, as you're seeing on the right-hand side of the screen. Her current wattage in the upper left-hand side of the screen. Now you do see that gradient start to kick up 8, 9, now 7% gradient in the upper right-hand corner. So if you are wondering if they are experiencing that, they most definitely are as far as the wattage they have to put out to climb at this speed in the game. But if they do have a smart trainer, they will be feeling that against their legs right now. Jennifer Reel now making her way to the front, holding on to the professional rider Amanda Corker's wheel there. As you can see, 5.1 watts per kilogram coming from the Show Air 2020 rider. Then it is going to be Team Stages here with Jay Hogue here, as well as Pitzer from Draft, and it's going to be Java Hihan there as well, following it up. Benassi there following, and it looks like Kristen Armstrong able to hang on just fine at this point, making her way to the front, actually, as you can see. And quite a few riders. Britt Mason there also as well, able to make this first climb. Nobody's going anywhere just quite as yet. The first ones to fall off, though, will be, it looks like, Moran as well as Bacchus, and then Salthouse as well as Phelps. 5 seconds is the gap there, so it looks like it's going to be an initial split on the first time over the climb here, as it is 19 or 20 riders, as it is Rich Trova as well as Pitzer who hold the back of the pack at this point. Going to be calming down most likely, as it is a drafting section of this longer climb. We'll see what kind of a KOM that the women can pull off here. Baring and Pitzer riding together. Obviously, draft staying organized in the defense of this championship out here today. So definitely a day of tactics as far as it goes for the defense
Hmm.
here, as draft have shown up in force. Pitzer now making way to the front, 8.3 watts per kilogram. Armstrong there, 5.3, working her way up toward the front. So Pitzer now starting to drive the pace a little bit, actually, as it looks like perhaps an organized effort to make her way to the front, as the heart rate is still plenty high. But again, the tactics very different today in this race compared to the one that we did stream earlier. C-Day are now off the front a little bit here, and you know, getting away solo or with a group of 5 or 6, it's definitely going to be an interest, but not quite as much of an interest as it was in the earlier. I mean, if you got away earlier in the U.S. in the British national championship qualifier, it was all about just get a top 10, you get into the live final. Here, it's all about first across the line. First across the line for that W. And we're going to have teams out there working to shut down anybody who does get away. You're going to have the packs closing down anything that might try and get away off the front. And, why don't we speak a little bit to that? I mean, it is really difficult on this course to get away from to get away from the group or the pack out there. Just like in real life, the peloton just works so hard against the efforts of a solo rider, or even just 1 or 2 riders that try and make it off the front. As they are climbing over the top here, 8.1 watts per kilogram coming from Java Kihan. And solid climb here to 405, about the same as the ones that we saw earlier today. But most likely nobody will be able to walk away from a peloton of this kind of strength.
Yeah, I think so. I think the only real chance for a solo breakaway in either the men's or women race here is if the pace is relentless enough and the group breaks up enough that the front group becomes small, like 10 riders or something like that. There is a possibility for a rider to get away and kind of, play the riders behind against each other, because none of them are going to want to work. I refer to it all the time as the volunteer's dilemma. That's the kind of only possibility here, is they have to really drive the pace on these climbs, and then hope the group diminishes enough that one rider can sneak away. Seeing some aero power-ups coming down the hill here, which is actually an excellent time to use those aero power-ups, because the faster the group goes, the more wind resistance is against the rider, and the more benefit you actually get from using those aero power-ups. So that's actually an interesting tactic as well, is to use an aero power-up and attack going down the hill and try to get away then. Going down a hill is definitely not a time you want to be chasing.
So as far as the power-ups go, some of the viewers might be unfamiliar with how they work, the power-ups in game. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity during this race. You've got you get up. So first of all, you get power-ups every time you go underneath a sprint banner, a lap banner, or a KOM banner. With all the opportunities out on course here, having multiple times going through the lap banner, the sprint banner, as well as the KOM, the odds are you can pick up a new arrow power-up. We were talking about this earlier today, that some of the riders seem to be taking a lot more risk than we are used to seeing. Usually in the shorter 40-minute races where you only see maybe 1 or 2 banners throughout the race, people usually hold on to them right till the last moment in that sprint, because the arrow power-up is so incredibly strong for the riders in a sprint situation. But in this race today, we see riders taking a few more chances and using them, maybe because the pace is just incessant and very, very difficult, but that might also be the reality that they're fairly confident that they're going to be able to grab a power-up throughout here, and maybe want to drive the pace a little bit and make sure that those gaps open up. What's the tactic here that we're seeing? Do you think these riders are just on the rivet and just trying to hang on, or as you said, they're trying to maybe put a little bit extra pressure on the other riders? With such a long race, you could tire your opponents out a little bit more being into that hour 15 to an hour and a half race.
Ab-
We lost Greg's audio there for a second. Greg, gotcha?
Oh, sorry about that, Nathan.
You're all
Yeah,
good.
so yeah, I don't want to do the probabilities on that, but absolutely, there are plenty of opportunities to pick up another power up. They are going down that hill. I think a lot of those riders knew they were coming up to a lap banner. Maybe probably maybe some of those riders are not in it for the win today. They just want to finish in this front group, and so they're just trying to save every ounce of energy they can to hang in. It could very well be that, like you said, that they're on the rivet, and they need that little bit of extra rest coming down the hill.
Yeah, most likely. I mean, after a climb like that at 405 up onto the top, we saw some insane wattage over the top. I would not be surprised if perhaps a few of the riders were just looking to hang on at that point. We are going through one of the other sections out on course where somebody could try and make a move. The SE's this series of undulating climbs, sharp little punchers over and over again. We're seeing C-Day on the front there using a power-up again. It looks like here that is the drafting power-up. It is increases the draft of your avatar on the rider that is in front of you. It is definitely saving some energy for that rider. She makes her way into the pack there, but could see a couple of riders maybe try and push the pace to drop a few off at this point. I wouldn't expect any kind of solo breakaways at this point, but it might be able to cause some mayhem on anybody who might be on the rivet already here. Maybe turn the screws a little bit. Looks like things are going to stay fairly calm through the SEs here. And we may see some sort of attacks through here into the final Ks of the race or on the second lap after the reverse KOM number 2. So back with the men's race, though, they are heading into the most crucial section out on course for the race today. First time up onto the top of the forward KOM out on Watopia here, and toward the front we do see it is going to be, again, the indoor specialists who are definitely keeping things on the guard here at the front with Chris Beck. It is going to be Frizz there as well, and Yanko there coming from the KRT team. KRT a little bit quieter in the U.S., it looks like, as they definitely had plenty of riders. More of a UK-based team, I believe, with how many riders are showing up out there for the KISS Racing team in Europe. But we do see this is going to be a positioning point for sure out on course here. If you are out of position onto these climbs, you know, this is going to be the initial kick. Now, I'm going to be surprised if we do see any kind of serious attacks through here, but perhaps we might see something here. As they did see about 12 watts per kilometer. Now Jackson here, as we do see 151 beats per minute up into some orange numbers. On the right-hand side of the screen, if you do see those orange numbers in the 8-9 watts per kilogram, that does mean the riders are going into almost a sprint or sprint type effort now. Jay Wentz now toward the front. Wylander there as well. Not going to be able to win the race for the U.S. National Championships, as he is most definitely on Z-Power and not from the U.S. there. But Yankow now, as far as Larson, it's going to be Butchert Hall there as well, making his way to the front. There's the initial kicks, and it will be a left-hand turn in just a moment onto the forward Watopia climb. The riders, I think, holding hands a little bit more. We talked about this earlier. Because they know what's coming up here, a lot of times, you know, out of Ocean Boulevard, you usually see a little bit more of an attack over that little 3% gradient. But because they know that the hardest point of the day is just ahead of them, they tend to keep things a little calmer and wait for that climb. And that seems to be just what they're doing here, Greg.
Yeah, I think, you know, that that little climb out of the tunnel, it's almost an opportunity to kind of measure up the other riders in the race, you know, see where their legs are. Information is really important in a race. Like it's very beneficial to know what kind of fitness the riders have and how they're feeling. So, you know, normally that's an opportunity to kind of measure up the riders, but with the forward KOM looming here, this is the time to measure up the fitness of the riders, and I think we're going to see quite a number of these riders fall off the pace here. Especially with the Dirt IS team pushing the pace on the front. All these riders, it looks like in orange is the standard Zwift orange kit is probably that Dirt IS team. We'll probably see them pushing the pace on the front here.
Yeah, we are seeing a lot of organization of those orange kits making the way to the front of this pack now, taking over, it looks like, for the moment. G. Lisa there up toward the front there. Then it's going to be Waldron there as well. Casey Shum from the All-Stars now in the orange, white, and blue kit right there in the front, though, taking over the front end of this pack up into those, it looks like almost 9 watts per kilogram for just a moment now, but it is Adam Zimmerman on the right-hand side, who we do have the focus on, the defending champion, sitting pretty there, it looks like, right around, it looks like 10th wheel, 12th wheel or so, holding on to the wheels and those positions he knows he needs to hold in order to have a draft up over the top, but not taking over the lead and putting his nose into the wind at any moment just yet. Now back up to the front, though, it is going to be Pantelier here for the indoor specialist in the orange kit now, and then it is Waldron back at the front again, as you can see, taking over now 196 beats per minute. SG here for the AFC there, it looks like now on the front. at 7.5 watts per kilogram. This is going to be an insanely fast climb now. And with so many riders here at the front end of this pack now, driving this pace over and over again, it does matter at these kind of speeds, the draft. And I wouldn't be surprised one bit if they are going to have a almost record-setting time up and over the top here. G. Lisa now is going to be, it looks like, the leader through the KOM at a 134 for the riders, as we do have Low here from Finesse, and as well as Lisa now there leading things out. Let's go ahead and move our way backwards, though, and see what kind of damage that it has done to the group now. Bobby here trying to hold on now. 4 seconds back. It's going to be Devin there, as well as it looks like Giuliano actually from the draft team. Going to have to grab onto a wheel here and really push the pace at 194 beats per minute. Devin's going to have to do everything he can to bring this back. Becky Kowitz there as well. Is he going to be able to make it happen? Schwartz, surprised to see him falling off the back, but we did see him struggling on the reverse KOM. It looks like this may come back just barely, but it's a 6.3 watts per kilogram in order to make this happen at 180 beats per minute. 2 seconds out still. It's a race of meters of whether or not these riders are going to still be able to be involved in the race to the finish line. Looks like we will have still a group of 40, but as we said, on that climb, those were the sections that were going to be the make it or break, and it looks like Blankenship as well as the Big E from Team Draft, Seabird here as well as Peddler, not going to be seeing the front end of this pack again, I believe. Peddler here on the Z-Power out there, the pedal away it looks like for the day, but unable to take the W there on the Z-Power. Just so everybody knows, you must have in the rules written for the day, just so you know, heart rate monitors as well as a verified power meter or smart trainer that is acceptable for the win out there today, which will be checked on by the race officials after the race. So we will have preliminary results after the race, but as far as official results for the national championships, that will be announced by Zwift later in the week, I believe it is. Casey Shum here with a little bit of a dig off the front. Interesting to see, but it wasn't going much of anywhere. G. Lisa counters a little bit there in the black kit here. Yankow for the KRT in the blue and orange, as you can see, making away to the front. This is the front group, it looks like. And the Casey Shum says, TV time fail, wake up NG. Telling me how to make sure that we see the All-Stars attack on the front end of the group here. Yeah, got you there, Casey. We're all over it, buddy. And absolutely love the chatter there. But Pantelier here now for the indoor specialist now, following up Casey. And maybe it's less typing and more wattage on the front, so those TV times actually make something happen rather than being sucked back into the group there. But Casey Shum, obviously an experienced Zwifter and probably one of the longest standing racers out in the world of Zwift. But back in with the women's race here. Let's go ahead and see how things are playing out. 107 has shown up on the day. We're currently looking at 10th place with Amanda Korka here coming from Show Air 2020 professional cyclist. If you're unfamiliar with some of the things that you're seeing on the screen, there's also the little badges next to some of the names. That pro badge obviously says on the right-hand side of the screen that this is a professional rider with a verified account. So the reason that those badges are there, especially the verified badges next to the names of some of the riders there, is so that somebody can't just log into the game, put a name in, and essentially have identity theft around the person. So then somebody thinks, oh, this is so-and-so, or whoever it is, if it's a well-known name in the community or in the world of cycling. So you get a verified badge. Obviously, for the professionals, you can get the pro badge next to the name so that people can know that this is an actual account of the individual that the name is around. So if you're ever wondering what those were about, that's what that's all about. You can also see who has the current Queen of the Mountain or Sprint jersey out on the event next to the names as well. And the left-hand side of the course there too, you do see the stats there for the current KOMs or Queen of the Mountains out on course. So upper left-hand side though, in the wattage there, Amanda Korka here, 219 watts currently. Nothing really going to be happening just yet for the women. I think it is time to kind of collect themselves a little bit here 3.0 watts per kilogram for Day on the front there, and they're looking forward to the climb. It'll be the first time over the top in just a moment here of that forward KOM, and I think this is going to be the next deciding moment for the women here, as it is 2:17 back. They don't have too much to worry about as far as the chase goes in this main pack that we're looking at right now. Landegren here looks like coming out of Canada, actually, as far as the flag goes. Perhaps racing out of the US of A, but the flag next to the name there is for Canada there. Interesting to see, but perhaps residing in the U.S. and just identifying with home country. We'll have to wait and see if we get some information on that rider there. As we have a little bit of a kick in that 3% gradient, we'll see if anybody does attack through here. As they head out of Ocean Boulevard, we'll be taking the left-hand turn onto the forward Watopia here. Landegren now taking over at 178 beats per minute. It will be Team Stages now making their way to the front there, with Hug now at 162 beats per minute. C Day has been on the front end a lot of this pack here. Do we have any information on Day here, Greg? This is a rider I'm not super familiar with. Has some of the kind of original, when you first jump into Zwift, some of the original, the original Zwift bike we're looking at here. The kit looks like a setup maybe where it's, somewhere between levels 1 and 15 perhaps. So somebody maybe jumping in here and trying to grab a national championship kit there, one of the dark horses or wild cards perhaps, because she's been on the front quite a bit here. Or perhaps just not registered with Zwift Power and just jumping into a race.
That could be. She's actually done looks like 4.6 watts per kilogram for this race so far. So some incredible power putting out on the front of this race. I'm looking and I don't see that many races from on her profile. So could be kind of a dark horse. In these national championships, we often see people jump in. They're kind of just intrigued by the idea of winning a Zwift national championship, and they'll very fit people jump in and see what they can do against the Zwift specialists.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening here for C Day. It'll be interesting to see. And we do see Amanda, though, as you can see from Show Air 2020, now making her way to the front, trying to set up for a solid climb, as this is the first time over the top of the forward KOM. The first of two climbs, and we'll see if it does break things apart, but it is going to be Mason now from Team Draft, starting to make her way to the front, following the wheels here very close. We did see that this was one of the riders to be watching out for a sprint effort if she can make it to the line. So I have a feeling that Britt Mason is going to be hanging on the wheels rather than maybe trying to attack here, but it is going to be Javak Kyan here now actually on the front, absolutely demolishing this climb here. 7.6 watts per kilogram coming from this rider right now. It looks like it is going to be Kubilas now, as well as Barry now following up. Jennifer Reel there from Team Fearless, and then Team Stages with Hogue there following up as well. But this is a solid gap, open up immediately for this rider here now, and not one that I'm super familiar with as well now. 6.1 watts per kilogram, hammered away, 178 beats per minute now, and the RPMs there super low, so we are assuming it's going to be on a smart trainer most likely with those RPMs so incredibly low at this point. 9 seconds though is the gap. The riders do not seem very interested in close this down, maybe confident that they'll bring that right on back, or perhaps not seeing the rider there on Zwift Power, as you do need to be registered on ZwiftPower.com in order to qualify for the race. So perhaps maybe not seeing the rider registered there today and gonna let that one go, or perhaps this is just going to be an all-out attack, that this is a solo TT all the way to the line. If she does get over 20 seconds, I would call this a serious threat if it does get over 20 seconds on the day here. And Greg, do we have any info on this rider here? I mean, a lot of the riders we're seeing amongst the group here, we have a lot of familiarity with, but C Day as well as Javak Kyan here, not a whole lot of past races from what I've seen as far as the community races go.
Yeah, Svetlana Javakine. I mean, she's got some serious stats here with a 4.5 20-minute watt per kilogram critical power. So it's possible that she could hold this with that kind of power. I haven't seen what she's put out so far in this race, but if she's fresh, she could definitely be a threat to stay away from this group. Although the actual races she's been in on Zwift Power, I don't see a lot of serious wins. So, it could be she's more on Zwift for fitness and is now just jumping into races for the first time.
Yeah, we're seeing it looks like Amanda Coker here now trying to bring things back. She's on the front end of the pack at this point. Hogue there now from Team Stages, Bearing now as well, trying to perhaps bring this back at 172 beats per minute, but it looks like things are calming down. It looks like Javakaya now not really able to hold on to the kind of pace that she had. It was a solid attack there, but as the group starts to bring things back, get organized, and the reality of fighting a solo against the peloton is starting to sink in. Down to 9 seconds now. I think this might get shut down as this was a valiant effort there, but with only 8 seconds now on the downhill, 45 kilometers per hour here coming from the main group now, I think is going to be shut right on down. So looking backwards, though, it is going to be Eppelbaum along with Tamayo there, Landegren, Henderson, all trying to get back on terms with that group. So there is a split in the group here, and this might stick as far as the group goes. And this is not what Team Draft wanted to see. Now it's the defending champion solo in that main pack up ahead here. This is the main chase now. Britt Mason with Kristen Armstrong, so they've got some firepower in there to bring this back, but it's going to be between, I think, Britt as well as Kristen to try and drive the pace there. And Henderson out from race 3R, also on the front there, 159 beats per minute, up in that 4.9 watts per kilogram, but it's out to 8 seconds now. Be interested to see if Pitzer and Bearing actually drive the pace or want to allow this pack to come back to them. Having Mason not involved in a sprint at the end, perhaps not the best tactic here. Do you think they're going to allow this to come back, or as far as Team Draft goes, I don't think they're going to be on the front of this main pack here up ahead, and just see if they can allow Britt to make her way back in here. But it's 13 seconds. This is kind of a threat to Team Draft. They still got 2 involved, but it's not what they really want to see today.
Yeah, I think it puts Claudia in a good position up ahead. She knows that if this group catches on, then Britt will be back in the race. So she kind of has a free ride up there. At least she can pull a little bit less. Because if Britt comes back into this race, she's still a threat. So maybe not too much, and there's maybe not too much of a threat to Draft at this point because there's so much more racing to go. But pretty interesting. It would be nice to see both of them up there in that front group.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see. As far as, definitely outnumbered, though, as far as the other riders go. We do see Team Fearless there with a couple up in the front group there, and the chase now being taken up by Team Draft to maybe get involved again in that front group with Britt Mason and a couple of others behind there. But it'll be interesting to see if Claudia can pull it off solo there, as it is a solid 20-second gap at this point. Back in with the men's race, though, as they head on through Ocean Boulevard for the second time. Their next anticipation out on course as they start their final lap of 2 out on the Watopia Figure 8 is going to be reverse climb on the KOM. We do see a couple of gaps that have opened up, though, as it is 29 seconds back to Weilander. He was just getting involved at the front end a lot there of the race there. Not actually out of the US of A, so they were able to drop him off, though, a few moments ago, it looks like. It looks like B. Hodges, though, as few as a few others, Frizz and Blankenship, off the back by 42 seconds, so 36 total. Giuliano here with having to throw down maybe a little bit of a waste of an effort there for a moment, as Ryan Giuliano for Team Drafter kicks into about 8 watts per kilogram, probably going to be in full support of Adam Zimmerman to try and defend that jersey out there today. Let's go ahead and look through and see who has all made this front group still. Beck is there still. Lots of orange jerseys for the indoor specialists now at this point, as we are seeing them coalesce toward the front end of this group a little bit. With so many people from this dirt indoor specialist team, they've definitely got a plenty of matches to burn. I wouldn't be surprised if we did start seeing a tactic here to just start sending people off the front, because there's so many, there are so many jerseys, so many of their riders here. It would not hurt, save your sprinter. Make sure, that would be a question too, I think, Greg, for you. Who is their sprinter? And then secondly, if you've got this many involved here, start sending people out the front to loosen up the legs of the other riders. I think that would be the move.
Yeah, I think so. I think Matt Brandt is probably most likely going to be their sprinter in game here. He's MB. We don't have his full last name, but he's got a solid 15-second sprint. He's going to be the one that I think they're going to set up if it comes down to a bunch sprint. But they have a lot of guys who could hold on to a break. Jonathan Freder has an excellent TT. Chris Beck as well. Who else is in here? Matt Gardner. Matt Gardner, we could see, maybe a late attack, like a 1K attack or something. So they do have a lot of cards to play. I wouldn't be surprised if they try a few different things. Maybe late attack and force the other teams like draft to respond, late in the game.
It does seem somewhat like a dirt versus draft situation out there, actually. I mean, we've got Zimmerman in here, defending champion with, it looks like, Giuliano, who is able to make this front group. Casey Shump from the All-Stars is out there, though, as well. Be watching out from him. Finesse is there, too. We don't want to count them out with Lowe and Simmons out there for Team Finesse, as well as T West. So Finesse in there. Now, we are seeing the yellow kits, and that is going to be Team Finesse there. Dean Bain, Athletic Mentors there as well. So plenty of Team Finesse out there. Do we have any results from them recently? That would be the question as far as the type that could take down a national championship jersey. I think they do get involved in a lot of top 10 situations, but I haven't seen any big wins from Finesse in any of the major community events recently. Correct me if I'm wrong, though, but I haven't seen a whole lot from them. Again, the indoor specialist with a lot of orange in the pack, but having this many riders, I just think that there is the reality that there is the chances to take still out on course. There's a lot of waiting at this point, a lot of hand holding, but they definitely got the matches to burn if they want to try and loosen things up and start countering. But perhaps they're just waiting for the sprints or the climb, and maybe waiting also though for the last 15K rather than with about 20K to go, 15 to 10K, maybe the sections that they're waiting for to try and make something happen here, Greg. I think that, this early still there's a little bit of temperance in the riders to really try and make anything happen being such a long race out here today. Still a half hour plus of racing to go.
Yeah, I think they know they have these two more climbs ahead of them, and in the British National Championship we saw the faster times on the second time around. So even though the legs are fatigued, the riders punched it up both climbs faster on the second lap than the first one. So if these riders watch that British National Championship race, or probably some of the other ones, they know that whatever they experienced the first time around, they're in for that plus some on the second time around. Back to that Finesse team, yeah, I think Jake Simmons is probably going to be the one they set up for the sprint if he can make it to the end. He's got a solid 15-second sprint at almost 16 watts per kilogram, which is definitely enough to take this down. But the problem will be if he can stay fresh for that sprint. But they have three cards to play in Tyler West, Darth Bain, and Jake Simmons. So a relatively new team. Nice to see them out in the front of this group, showing off those yellow jerseys.
Yeah, definitely getting organized. We haven't seen them a whole lot in some of the bigger community races during the week. Perhaps it's just a time frame thing for what they can get involved in. But good to see them out here representing and bringing some new colors to the front end of the major races out here. I am seeing some predictions here for Spencer Segerbrook for the W. I didn't notice that Segerbrook is out there, so good to see him out there in the national champion race here. And I would not count out Segerbrook actually for a W out here. I've seen him take down some sprints in his day, so Segerbrook definitely a threat, I think, and I think chat is absolutely correct out there as far as watch out for Spencer for a W perhaps out there today and taking down the national cake. Now a lot of orange though coalescing to the front there. There is a feather power up coming from SGAFC for the AFC team now, and Gardner though,
That's
we were
Seth
chatting
G,
a little bit about Gardner, so that is going to be the initial attack here. 10 watts per kilogram coming from SG now, and you were explaining who is this rider now? Go ahead, Greg.
This is Seth G. I'm actually not too familiar with the AFC team. I know he's sort of affiliated with the Dirt team. I've seen him kind of hanging out in the Dirt, which is, for those of you who don't know, it's a relatively new team. Stands for Dad's Inside Riding Trainers. And it's actually, the Dirt team is also involved with this indoor specialist team. So when you see Dirt indoor specialist, that's actually the same team, the indoor specialist or as I've been referring to them as Dirt IS. That's kind of the elite team, the A plus riders of the Dirt team. So Seth G, we've seen him out on Zwift a lot recently. I know he had a bike accident and has kind of been rebuilding from that, but he's an elite runner and has a lot of fitness. So definitely not someone to count out. I know before his accident he was throwing down some big sprints. So if he's rebuilt his form and he can hang in here, he might be one to watch.
Interesting to see, coming over from the running, I've seen some crazy talent coming over from the elite runners into cycling after a season or two. So we'll see if Seth can throw down here today. It looks like Waldron now making his way to the front at 192 beats per minute, 39 kilometers in at this point, and we've got a little under 20K to go as we make our way halfway up over the second time over the reverse Watopia. And it looks like there's a little bit of a split taking place here as we see the orange jerseys here trying to push the pace. Now it's going to be Seth again on the front. Finesse closes it down. Talbot there for the Splunk team now making their way to the front there. Yankow for the KRT covering the moves there. Casey Shum playing it pretty cool at this point, knowing that this is most likely not going anywhere. And Zimmerman there, the defending champion, sitting pretty there in 22nd place, making sure that he gets the draft he needs for team draft to try and defend that jersey out there. Beck is there sitting right next to him with a few of the other indoor specialists now. As we're looking at JF as well as West right in front of them. And it looks like, though, the question is who's falling off, though, the pace at this point? Has there been any casualties from the attacks up on the top of this climb? Devin, it looks like there was one of them that was unable to hang on after these initial attacks, as well as, I'm going to attempt this, Masikowicz now as well, right along with Devin now. But moving forward with this main group now, as they come over the top here, 318 now for the riders. I believe as far as, it is going to be Amon as well as Hurd there, and Giuliano there for 319. So a little bit faster, I think, over the top this time than the first time over the top. It was 3 seconds faster, though, I think, for the British Cycling Championships earlier today. But doesn't look like it was able to drop anybody off just yet. Lions there having to throw down to 8 watts per kilogram to jump back on to the wheels there. But 32 riders strong at this point as they make their way down the other side of that KOM now. And let's go ahead and jump back in with the women's race, though, as they are making their way through the underwater tunnel now at this point onto Ocean Boulevard. Doesn't look like, actually perhaps there has been another break at this point. Henderson here, 19th place as you can see, and it looks like Christian Armstrong sitting in 14th, still trying to drive the pace, but it has gone out still. The situation in the women's race, there was a break on lap 1, up and over the top of the forward KOM. Britt Mason, Christian Armstrong, Laura Epperbaum, as you can see here, they definitely strong riders that could take down the W out there today. Were involved in the were falling off the back after the break took off. It looked like over the top of the forward KOM. Jennifer Rio, looks like Benassi. Pitzer, looks like, as well as Claudia Baring, the defending champion here, as well as Coker here from 2020 Show Air on the front end. So super strong group that has been able to drop off a few of the favorites out there with Christian Armstrong and Britt Mason for the W. So it looks like now another attack here coming from the stages rides is with Hugh here now, 163 beats per minute. Coker now jumping onto that wheel there. Amanda Coker from the Show Air 2020. She is also a part of the KISS Super League and had a solid result this past week in the first of the KISS Super League Pro Racing out on Zwift here. Now showing up for that national championships to see if she can grab that out today. I would definitely not count her out as one of the favorites as well, obviously with that pro badge. She has the power and is getting experience, it looks like, out on Zwift now. She's been able to follow all the wheels here. This is actually fairly impressive from what I've seen from Amanda here, picking up pretty quickly the tactics as well as the places out on course that you want to make moves. A lot of times you do see the pros just using their raw power out there almost too much to battle it out with the other riders. But it looks like Amanda's really picked up the tactics out here, Greg, to learn how to use the gameplay tactics and control the avatar well to reserve and stay involved at the front end of this race.
Yeah, that's actually really impressive. With only one race, which is the round one of the Women's Kiss Super League, on her Zwift profile, it's really impressive that she's picked it up so well. She probably is burning a little bit more than some of the others, but definitely hanging in there pretty well. There's some riders in here that we haven't really mentioned that look like they could be threats. Beth Stoner has a 12 watt per kilogram 15-second sprint, and I believe she's in this front group. Not a rider I'm too familiar with, but definitely one to watch out for. She's got some stats on her Zwift profile that suggest to me she could be one to take down a bunch sprint.
Very cool to see, actually, and it would be fun, actually, to have a wild card take down the W and earn that kit on the day. Definitely would probably see them out there racing a little bit more out on Zwift. If you do earn a national championship kit, I mean, does that mean you've got to race more out on Zwift then for the next year to come? But good to see Stoner out there. 167 beats per minute currently right now, 4.0 watts per kilogram that we're seeing from her. And with a solid sprint out there, we'll see if she can throw it down for the W. It'll be all about hanging on up on the top of the climbs out there for sure, though. As they have this break still. Doesn't look like it's going to be coming back together. I think Britt Mason as well as Christian Armstrong now at this point are racing for a 11th place overall at this point, as I believe the top 10 or so have gotten away. Up ahead here with Claudia Berry, we're looking at right now. This is the defending U.S. champion. She does have support there of Pitzer still. There were a lot of hopes, I think, in Britt Mason for the sprint out there today, but it looks like obviously the chips are going to be thrown in for Claudia or Pitzer today for that W. Between these two, is it going to be a support role mainly from Pitzer out there for Claudia, or maybe one or the other depending on how things play out?
Yeah, just looking at the sprint numbers on Claudia versus Pitzer. If I was in the team director role right now, I would definitely be putting Pitzer in support of Claudia Baring, who also has almost a 12 watt per kilogram 15-second sprint. One of the best in here. And actually, let me retract what I said about Beth Stoner. I'm looking at her profile now. 157 races on Zwift. And she's 60 plus, so probably one of the oldest riders we've seen in a front group in any race so far. I don't have her actual age, but really impressive to be up here with this group.
Nice job to her for sure, and really cool to see her out there racing with the rest of the riders. And you might be raising a couple eyebrows with those stats there, so we'll have to wait and see how things play out with the race officials at the end of the day. But kudos to Stoner out there hammering away with the rest of the pack here. Looking at Benassi here making away for US MES here now to the front of the pack now as they make their way toward the reverse KOM for the second time. Let's go ahead before they they hit up that reverse KOM. Let's just jump in with the men here real quickly as they make their way through the S's. They're actually finishing up the S's. They're about to take their final right-hand turn on to Ocean Boulevard now, as we're looking at our Lions now for Team Splunk, and it is going to be 17th place currently for him. We've got about 38, I believe, riders here still involved here. Team Finesse now holding things down. Adam Zimmerman here, defending champion here for draft. Indoor specialist there in the orange jerseys now. A couple of unattached riders now making their, debut here as well, but it is mainly Finesse, indoor specialist, draft. That is the situation here, as well as a couple of solo riders there with obviously the All-Stars rider Casey Shum. You will be seeing him on and off out there, as you do see him actually right there in the white and orange and blue kit at the front of the screen. So watch out for him. It'd be interesting to see if Casey could, I've seen him take down sprints, not the strongest rider, obviously, amongst these racers here, but he doesn't have that all-star kit on for no reason. He knows how to time a sprint.
Oh, yeah.
He knows how to tactically win a sprint. I've seen him take down some of the strongest racers I've ever seen out on Zwift with just the right tactics. So I would not count Casey out if it does end up being the right moment for him, and he's able to get a little bit of RNG in his favor out there. Casey Shum could be a threat out there, and with
Absolutely.
how many races he's got, it would be kind of cool
Oof.
actually to see Casey to bring one home for the USA.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Casey probably one of the most experienced, probably the most experienced rider in this pack. I was riding with him just on Friday. We were doing some kind of heads up sprint laps around the volcano, and he managed to beat Alex West, who's one of the rising stars on Zwift, just with his kind of like strategic prowess. Alex has one of the most dominant sort of levels of fitness on Zwift, but Casey's level of experience allows him to use his power very carefully and make the most of it. So he's definitely one to always watch out for. Last year in this race in the national championship, we saw him go long. He went for a long attack, and I know he was sick in that race. He was fighting a cold or something like that, but still almost managed to stay away with a long attack. So, given the near success of that last year, I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to repeat something like that. One rider I do want to call out that we mentioned is Spencer Sagebrook, who's always a threat. We don't see him on Zwift too much, but he actually has a lifetime membership of Zwift on Zwift because he won the KISS crit in Long Beach. He beat Adam Zimmerman in that live event, and he took second, I believe, last year in the national championship race. So, Sagebrook and Zimmerman have a little bit of a, how should we say it, a little bit of a duel
Rivalry,
going on here.
a little bit of rivalry.
Yeah,
Looking
rivalry.
to maybe take that national championships kit, and Adam Zimmerman looking for maybe a little bit of revenge for the live final here. Riding unattached in the Fondo kit, maybe even making a statement with that I don't need a team. I'm going to just take the W down out here today. So looking through, though, the women's are halfway through their reverse KOM. We did see a little bit of attack over the top here of the initial part of the climb with Coker here now. It looks like Hugh followed up. There's Benassi. Not able to drop too many riders off. All the riders here are showing that there's a reason they're a part of this front group at this point, as nobody seems to be suffering too badly to be dropped off the back here. The ShoAir 2020 rider now at 176 beats per minute, just sitting on a few of the wheels there and not allowing things to get away or out of hand just yet now. Again, though, it is going to be Javik Nayan here now, again on the attack. Loving the climbs, it seems like. Bering here, following up very quickly there. His team stages there with Togue now making her way to the front there. Coker now going to hold on to that wheel here. Blankenship now for Team Fearless now holding down the wheel, as well as, I believe, Jennifer Reel is still in there, keeping it real at the back end of the pack now. And is she in a spot of bother, though? That's the question. Do not believe so. It is actually Pitzer toward the back of that group now. But it is Henderson now toward the front of this chase group. This is the main chase group out on course now with Britt Mason. Now, 205 back. I do not believe this is coming back. Going to be having to settle for about 14th place or so. This is the front end, though, again. Bering now, it looks like, as well as Richtrova now on the front. This is a jersey I'm not super familiar with. Richtrova, this is not a rider I'm familiar with either. Looks like able to hold on to a solid effort here, but there's no heart rate monitor on. Now, real quickly, for those of you who might be wondering, you do need to have a heart rate monitor on in order to qualify for a W out there. So without a heart rate monitor on, not able to take down the... now, it does say in the rules, though, for a most of the race, I think they put that in there just in case perhaps for some odd reason you do have a dropout on your heart rate monitor at certain times throughout the race. We do see once in a while heart rate monitors drop out or get a little wacky on their numbers here and there. But for the duration of the race, most of the race, it does need to be connected. Usually it's solid, the connection. If you are connected through A&T Plus or Bluetooth, then your heart rate monitor most likely usually stays connected just fine. But it does look like without that on, it will be a solid workout there with Trava, but most likely not able to grab a podium out there today. And a couple of attacks actually here now coming from some of the riders. An arrow power up being thrown down now at the front end of this pack now, as I believe that was Coker here with that arrow power. 5.7 watts per kilogram, almost an attack-like situation. Bering here was 1 second back, it looked like, but looks fairly calm. 157 beats per minute. Bering's been playing it very smart. it seems like. I think she is really motivated to repeat and seems to have played all of her cards about as correctly as you possibly could to get set up for the win out here today.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just like Adam Zimmerman, we haven't seen her put her nose in the wind. We haven't seen her on the front of the group. She's just been sitting in there pretty, saving her energy. So, I think probably Scott Cunningham, the DS of Team Draft, is kind of orchestrating all of this and keeping Claudia and Adam calm in the pack and just on the right wheels the whole time. This Rich Trova, she's actually an elite level amateur triathlete. One thing I notice is more and more elite athletes jumping into Zwift racing. We spoke about in the men's race, Matt Gardner, who I know came from triathlon into racing Zwift, and something about indoor training and racing on Zwift is kind of seems to be conducive to triathletes.
Yeah, I think the triathletes were the ones who created indoor cycling. I think they're so incredibly focused that and the soloist part of being a triathlete, and we kind of just followed along. All of us cyclists just kind of followed along with them, and but we are seeing Ritrova here now, 201 watts, no heart rate monitor. Hopefully she can get that figured out before the end of the race if she is watching the broadcast, or somebody can hand her a heart rate monitor so we can get her into the results. Just go ahead and jump back in with the men's races. This is going to be the most crucial point out on course for the day. Sagerbrook, we were talking about him, the winner at the Chris Crit Finals in Long Beach last year. Adam Zimmerman's right next to him. That rival we were talking about is going to start to heat up from the top of this climb here. If you're just tuning in, we are 52K into the Zwift National Championships for the US of A. We are be giving away a national championship jersey for 1 year after this race, and it's all on the line here with about 30 plus riders making this lead group. It's going to be T West up to the front there. Now the indoor specialist starting to make something happen, and Casey Shum leading things out here, though. Here comes some of those feather power-ups, actually. Very early release of those, as we've got Crane toward the front there. No, Waldron now 9 watts per kilogram here with that feather power-up that does decrease the avatar's weight in game, so it does increase your watts per kilogram, but it's going to be JF here for the indoor specialist now making his way to the front in the orange kit, followed up by Crane, G. Lisa there, Golard for V. Fox. Golrod here for V. Fox. Is this going to be a threat? Not a rider I'm super familiar with, and who is the V. Fox team here? A little bit about that, Greg, before we hit the top of this climb. Is that a threat? Because this rider seems to be hanging on without any problems.
Yeah, the VFox is the men's wing of the I believe it's the Vixen team. Are you familiar with them? The women's
Yes.
team out on Zwift. Glenn Goulart, I know, is actually I think he might also race on rollers, just like we were talking about Neil Austenfeld from Team Type One. I believe he races on rollers as well. Not necessarily one who could take down a sprint. His 15-second sprint doesn't compare to Adam Zimmerman or Spencer Sagerbrook, but definitely one who's always just seems to be in the front group. I think he's a smart racer and uses his power well, like kind of similar to Casey Shum.
Now we're seeing a 130 up over the top from SG. Crane followed up by 132. That is absolutely smoking time over the top of this climb.
Yep.
And one of the fastest. SG, we were talking about Seth here being one of the stronger riders, perhaps able to be a dark horse as he's been showing up lately out on Zwift. Not any big wins for him in some of these community races, but definitely been taking down some wins and suddenly showing up on the radar here and there. Watch out for Seth in this sprint, as we did see him trying to make a little bit of attack, though, over the top of the climb there, but unable to get away. Did anybody suffer off the back, though? Any of the favorites, it looks like Giuliano is going to be biting the dust off the back here. Ryan Giuliano for draft, not going to be able to support his team leader, it looks like. Unless Wentz for Sewer can bring this back as he starts to push the pace at 5.1 watts per kilogram, 53 kilometers in. Our Lions here now from Spunk hanging out 190 beats per minute. Looks like he's just clawing his way back to the wheels at this point, hanging on by just a few beats per minute. Zimmerman here up into the 180s, though, most likely trying to bring that heart rate right on down. I have not seen a single power-up from Adam Zimmerman the entirety of the race so far, most likely holding on to that aero power up and waiting for the moment to pounce. Now, it's not about a podium. It's about the first one across the line. This is all about 1 year in a national championships kit, and we are heading into the final 4K of this race now. Adam Zimmerman, the defending champion, but we've got still 20-plus riders who also want to chomp at the bit for that national championships kit for the USA here. Sagerbrook here, who took him down in the live finals in Long Beach last year. Can he throw down? This is going to be a rider I think Adam Zimmerman's got on his mind to follow the wheels there for the W out there. I think this is most likely in the back of Zimmerman's head as far as Spencer versus Zimmerman. In that, this is a revenge moment, I think, here. But it's going to be also up to the indoor specialists, I think, out there today. Who's left, though? I'm not seeing MB out there. No Matt Brandt. Did Matt Brandt make this and I'm just not seeing him? Gardner's out here. Gardner could take this down, I think.
Yeah, Gardner. I believe he took third last year in the national championship race. So not someone who we usually think of as a sprinter, but if he can surf wheels well, then he could be up there as well. I think both Zimmerman and Spencer are going to really need to look out for this indoor specialist team because it seems like they still have a few people up here. They could be up to something in the end here. They probably aren't just waiting for that bunch sprint. I don't see Matt Brandt in this front group.
Perhaps falling off through a few of the climbs. He does have a solid sprint, but maybe unable to hang on for the climbs as they've been extremely fast out there out on course so far. Giuliano here actually able to jump back into the group. This is a surprising effort coming from Ryan Giuliano, though. Up at the front, though, of this pack now, it does look like JF here as well as Wentz here still driving the pace. 8.2 watts per kilogram, trying to get away perhaps without maybe looking to not have a sprint situation here. Low now going, knowing that he doesn't have a sprint perhaps here. 9 watts per kilogram coming from now, and Low now off the front. Then this is maybe to set up for a finesse tactic here to force some of the other riders to make the chase here. Crane now trying to go right along with him. Will Crane be able to make the break happen here? Into the last few K now. It's less than 4K to go to the line. This is about a 60-kilometer race. I do see in chat a lot of questions about how far does this go. It's 2 laps total, right around the 60-kilometer mark. So we're into the final 5K now at this point. Talbot follows it up here. Low there's going right along with him. Shum now just making sure this doesn't go anywhere and following the wheels. So many that can take this sprint still. This is going to be so interesting because there are so many of these riders can win still. It's not like there's a standout favorite. Everybody that's in this group at this point is saying, I could get a national championships kit. 1 year in that kit, tons of bragging rights. Who's going to take this down? And, the riders are starting to really get feisty here to try and break things apart now, knowing that they've got some serious sprinters, though, out here that could, Sagerbrook, Zimmerman, Beck is still in there for the indoor specialist here. West for Team Finesse. Lots of riders still able to win this out here today. What do you think? I mean, Greg, as far as the favorites go, I think Sagerbrook here is set up perfectly with a really low heart rate still.
Yeah, Sagerbrook, Zimmerman, both looking good. I think one thing about Zimmerman is his heart rate is naturally quite high. So when we see 180 from him, he's actually not suffering as much as you might expect from the average person with a 180 heart rate. But Spencer, very fit rider. He knows how to sprint on Zwift, even though he's not riding on Zwift as often as someone like Adam Zimmerman. But just so many talented Zwift racers in this group. I still expect we're going to see something from the indoor specialist team, maybe here on the bridge climb.
As you speak there goes Pantelier now. We got up here from Casey Shum. Casey Shum calling it out. Go, go, go. You better close that down. Here's Bain Athletic Mentors there as well for, it looks like Team Finesse now trying to close that down with a drafting power-up. Finesse trying to set something up very early here, and they do not want to sprint finish here. Zimmerman as well as Sagerbrook being the threats there. I think Pritchard Hall now from Velasco, it looks like trying to make something happen now. These riders doing everything they can to not come to the line with 30-plus riders, but it's going to be down to the sprint, it looks like, at this point, unless they can really put the pressure on. It's strung out, though, at this point. As you can see, the straight line is starting to happen here. Not so much of a peloton, and mainly riders just looking for the wheel in front of them for any kind of reprieve from the attacks that are taking place. Wentz now going off the front. Now we can see 4.7 watts per kilogram from him currently. We did see some orange numbers from Waldron just a moment ago. We're into the final K or so at this point. Festini is there. Looks like maybe a lapped rider. No, Festini. Not a rider I'm familiar with, but taking over the front end of the pack now. We do see a feather power up. Waldron, all he's got left maybe at this point with this feather power up, 191 beats per minute coming from him right now. Without an arrow power up, maybe saying this is all I have for a chance to try and get away. But with these undulations and the kind of speed that this group would pull through here, even at 8.5 watts per kilogram, he's not going to be getting away. At 190 beats per minute, not sure it's going to happen for this rider trying to TT away from a pack that's about to blow up into 11 plus 13, 14, 15 watts per kilogram at speeds pushing up into 70 kilometers per hour or more here. Now making the way to the front, Indoor Specialist. We see the orange jersey starting to coalesce in the front, beginning their lead out for their team. I'd love to hear into the team bus who they're working for out there today. Maybe they're just going to put everybody on the front and see who ends up in first, but it's going to be Camus here now for the Indoor Specialist.
Yeah, Camus probably the one here.
It looks like Camus setting up well now, 177 beats per minute. Now here comes the first arrow pump. It's going to be low. That's going to be opening up first. No, Sagerbrook, though, going very early. 12 watts per kilogram. Hang on the wheel. It's going to be low at 16 watts per kilogram. We're holding on, but Sagerbrook with 16 watts per kilogram, 1,100 watts. It looks like Sagerbrook might catch everybody out, but Alan Lowe hanging on. But here comes Camus from the Indoor Specialist. It looks like it's going to be Camus across the line. Indoor Specialist take it down. Sagerbrook went from way out, but unable to hold on as it's a perfectly timed attack there in the orange jerseys. I thought we would see Adam Zimmerman coming through later, but unable to come across after those attacks. What an amazing attack there from Camus in the last 100 meters. The timing was perfect, sitting on the wheel, and the speed coming through. Absolutely amazing. We'll take a look at the replay after the women's race coverage here, but amazing attack there from Camus, Indoor Specialist, making it happen there. And we'll wait for the preliminary results. We'll let Greg analyze those for a couple of minutes there for us there, as what an attack there. And, Zimmerman, I think, got maybe a little bit caught out, because that was kind of a drag race to the line there. A little bit different from what we usually see.
I think, this under double draft, the last year we did the race under a standard draft, the standard draft algorithm. This year it's under the double draft algorithm. It really does change the dynamics of a sprint. I thought it was incredibly impressive how long Sagerbrook held on to 16 watts per kilogram on the front of that group. And I really do think that kind of disrupted the standard tactics. He's actually probably not that familiar with the double draft algorithm, given how infrequently he's actually in on Zwift. So he might have been playing it as if, from his experience with the single draft algorithm. So that could be part of it.
Yeah, that's a really good point, that the reality of the double draft most likely changed up how well the riders could hang on to the wheel immediately in front of them in that kind of a sprint. I mean, to throw down 1,200 watts, that kind of a kick, usually is going to open up a gap at that point. But with the current situation with the double draft and the ability to hang on, those riders behind that group was able to just hang on and wait for that last 200, 100 meters. And, just like in real life, there's right to the last moment, you are able to almost wait for the last few hundred meters and kick through. And that's exactly what Camus did there for the indoor specialist team there and was able to bring
Yeah.
bring that national championship their way. Now, that is a preliminary result. We do need the race officials to go over all of the results there. So the official claim on who has the national championship is still to be said. But it looks like here now, as we head into the final climb, ShoAir 2020 looking to put down 5.5 watts per kilogram on the front here. And this could be a breakaway situation within the women's racing. A lot of time we see a little bit more dynamic situations where riders might just be able to show what they've got for the power and break away. With less riders in the pack here, there is more of an opportunity to try and get away and shatter this group and hold on for a TT to the line. It's going to be about a 10-minute TT to the line, though, after the climb, if one or two riders are able to get off the front here and make the break happen here. We do see a couple of feather powers being thrown down now. It is going to be, it looks like. Javakaya now again on the front here, 178 beats per minute. Loves these climbs, as you can see. 6 watts per kilogram. The ShoAir rider here following it very closely now. Looks like riders starting to suffer off the back here a little bit. And Benassi here now, Pitzer here. Where is Claudia Behring, though? That is the question. As we're looking through here, Pitzer is still involved here. Did we have a drop? I'm looking through, and I'm not seeing Behring in and amongst the group here at this point.
Yeah, it looks like up on Zwift Power, she's fallen way back. If these gaps are right, my only guess is it had to be a dropout.
That would be
That's
so
really unfortunate.
Incredibly unfortunate. I know she'd been looking forward to this. I've seen her posting on social medias, and if there was some sort of a dropout out there, that is extremely unfortunate if that's what happened there. We'll have to keep an eye out to see if she does end up appearing again. Maybe just a momentary lapse of connection, hopefully, between her connection on Zwift and her network, perhaps. But it does look like Behring, the defending national champion, had a flat tire out on course. The team car for draft unable to get her back up to the front. And it looks like, just like in real life, sometimes you get a little bit unlucky. And it does look like it is going to be attack here, though, coming from Javakayan, and followed up by the ShoAir 2020 team rider, Amanda Coker here now, able to hold on to the wheel here with a 5-second gap. This might stay away. This is a threat. C-Day on the front there. It looks like it's going to be Pitzer here, 7 seconds. And without the likes of Behring in here, that kind of firepower, Jennifer Rio, Larson, as well as Hogue, they all seem to be just hanging on for dear life at this point. This may stay away. With a professional rider on the front here, 185 beats per minute right now. Can she take down that national championship skid? To be absolutely amazing to see if this ShoAir 2020 rider, it'd be absolutely awesome if she won that and showed up to the KSL this next Tuesday in the national championship skid. What a day that would be for ShoAir 2020.
Oh, absolutely. You know, actually, one interesting thing here is I didn't notice either Adam or Claudia in the national championship jersey. Both of them were sporting just the standard draft jersey here. So, you know, that's kind of interesting. Same thing in the British national championship. I don't think I saw Kim Little in the British national championship jersey. So, you know, it kind of would be nice to see the stars and stripes in this race. I'm not sure why that's not happening, but. You know, this is the situation that I suspected could lead to a little break like this. You know, just the punishing pace up these climbs kind of splintered the group, and now finally, you know, two riders have gotten away with Java Kayan just absolutely obliterating each of these climbs. I think she was the first across the KOM banner in each one of these climbs, and she's sporting both of those KOM jerseys, both the forward and reverse at this point. So she's really been the animating force in this race.
Yeah, it looks like now even getting that feather power up, loving the climbs here, as you can see, but not able to stick the gap as Jennifer Reel pulls things back together for Team Fearless. What an effort here from Jennifer Reel. As far as the sprints go amongst these riders, ShoAir 2020, are they going to be able to pull off a sprint amongst the group here as they bring it back together now? We're almost 55K into this race, about at that 5K mark to go. And, you know, the riders pulling this back together, a lot of matches most likely burned, but to get away at the same time, the riders who were up front had to do a lot of work as well. But again, it's all back together, and we've got, it looks to be about 8 riders, I believe, if I'm not mistaken here, looking for a national championships kit out on course now. Who's got the sprint today? We've talked about Claudia Behring. She had a dropout. I'm getting confirmation in a lot of the chats there. So Claudia uninvolved in this sprint now at this point. Is it going to be, does Amanda Coker have the kind of sprint that's going to take this down out there today? Jennifer Reel, I mean, what a result for Team Fearless if they're able to grab this today. I mean, this is a team, a lot of times, I think, playing for a lot of times a podium spot, but not always a win out there. Jennifer Reel has an opportunity for Team Fearless out here to really put them on the map.
Yeah, for sure. She's got one of the better sprints in this group. It's actually pretty evenly matched. I'm looking at the sprint numbers from this group, and actually a few of the riders who I'm not as familiar with have some of the better sprint numbers, including July Hugh from the Stages team. This Java Kayan as well. She's got absolutely the strongest sprint in this group, but given the animation she's done in this race, I can't imagine that her legs are going to be fresh for this sprint. And also Beth Stoner. But, Jennifer Reel, Angela Pitzer, actually from draft, could have a chance as well.
Pitzer, yep, might be the final hope out there for Team Draft now at this point. I mean, they had Britt Mason out there. They had Claudia Behring, a couple, Britt only able to hang on through the climbs. Now Claudia with the dropout. So it does end up on Pitzer's shoulder to try and defend the jersey for Team Draft for the USA out there today. Now, just the Essies in the sprint point left on the day. Coker now making her way to the front now, as you can see. Amanda now holding a solid 4.4 watts per kilogram. We'll see if she drives the pace as well at all through the Essies now. It looks like Hugh there as well. 4 Team Stages now, 4.2 watts per kilogram. Now Coker with, is that a... No, it's not actually coming from her for the feather power up here. A couple of feather power ups being used at a very odd point actually from Day now. And perhaps just in a lot of pain trying to hold on. But no, this looks to be a serious attack here. Showair now following up. It's a 7-meter gap, though. You can see at the bottom of the screen there, 5 meters now closed down to 5 meters. So there is a draft on the rider here now at this point. It looks like Hubolas now closing that right on down. Javakayan then. Hugh now coming from Team Stages. Jennifer Reel all back together now as they head into the sprint section in the Italian Village. It is just the sprint and the Essies. If anybody does not have a sprint, this is going to be the next section, of course. I mean, the only section, of course, that is going to be left for them. The undulations, the kicks. And essentially, if you do want to get away, you got to put everything you've got, full-on sprint efforts, over the top. Well, maybe not full-on sprint, but I mean really serious punchy efforts over the top of each one of the Essies climbs, and then hold on to at least threshold of VO2 max on the downhills and the flatter sections of it. So if anybody's got anything reserved and does not want to sprint, it's going to be all about an all-out climb out of that sprint section out here.
Yeah, the only way I see this working is maybe an attack at the bridge. Once you hit that bridge climb, once they take that right and go up that little kicker after the bridge, everyone expects it to be hard there. The only way I see this working is to catch out the other riders by starting a little bit early, maybe on the bridge or maybe even a little bit before. Pick up the pace, get away, and then just hammer it up that climb. And just hope that a little dilemma from the riders behind, maybe no one wants to get on the front and pull, might allow you to stay away.
Definitely. We'll see if that happens here. Nobody taking that advice, it looks like, at this point, perhaps waiting for this right-hand turn. It's going to be all about everything you got to the top of this 5% gradient if they do not want to deal with a sprint situation. It does look like we are seeing one rider using a feather power up there just a moment ago. It is going to be, it looks like, the rider, one of the unattached rider, it looks like there. I believe that was Hugh there from Team Stages. Perhaps, no, it was not. It was actually C. Day. No, it was not Larson. Yes, it was our Larson here at 178 beats per minute now with about a little over a K to go to the line using a feather power-up. So there is no aero power-up for this rider here. Would be interesting to see who has the aero power-ups for the sprint to the line, though. It is going to be Day here, 5.4 watts per kilogram, 5.7 with an aero power-up. Obviously does not want to sprint with an attack on the front. This is a serious attack here at this point. 1 second is the difference here. She may be able to stay away if the other riders just have nothing left in the legs. That's going to be the question. I mean, 1 second gap. Coker here now going, though. Amanda trying to close it down, 5.8. But this is a wasted effort, though. Oh, man, it's like this situation is so difficult. Will the other riders work with me or not? Cubalis now trying to get to the front there. Uses her aero power up. C-Day with a 2 second gap. Can she hold on to that? But we have a downhill finish with the sprint group. It's going to be extremely difficult for Day to stay away to the line. Coker now using a feather power up, no arrow power up left. Jennifer Reel, probably one, as well as Pitzer, the two most experienced in this group. If they have a feather power, if they have an arrow power up, they are smiling from ear to ear right now, just waiting for those final meters. At this point, Greg, it might be a perfect setup for either Draft or Fearless now to take this down.
Man, yeah, this is the hoard that helmet. You gotta hoard the helmet, and if you've held on to that thing until this point, you start to see those other power ups go. Like you said, you are in the perfect position. I think there are maybe 2 helmets in this group. I think Pitzer and Jennifer Reel.
Yeah, Jennifer Reel and Pitzer.
I bet they both have it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
I think it's going to be a late sprint here.
Yeah, here we go. It's going to be, I think they're all going to kind of just be looking at each other here. Jennifer Reel, 3.0 watts per kilogram, saving up for the final moments here. National championship kit is on the line. We're into the last 500 meters now. Now we're seeing Team Draft. Pitzer with a very early arrow power up, but it's probably 30 seconds to the line. Does Pitzer have the watts to give to the line, though, for this effort? It's going to be 6.5. Reel starting to go with 6.8 watts per kilogram. Is there another arrow power up? That's going to be the question. And it's Pitzer with 9 watts per kilogram. Pitzer for Team Draft is going. It looks like it's going to be Pitzer to the line. Jennifer Reel tries to come across, but it doesn't look like she's got the power up for it. Pitzer for Team Draft pulls it off there. After Baring is off the back, Pitzer, it's probably hands in the air and absolutely ecstatic at this point, as she was there for a support role for Claudia Baring and shows up. The rest of the team unable to make it to the line and ends up with a little bit of luck in her pocket there, throws it all in and grabs the W. Pitzer for Draft. I mean, she's got to be extremely happy with that result.
Oh man, that was that's I think that was the most exciting we've seen all day here, and possibly one of the most exciting finishes I've seen on a Zwift race. To have that bad luck for Claudia Baring and for Pitzer to be able to pull it out with a little bit of RNG there. In the end, she's got the experience. She's got Scott Cunningham in her ear telling her just save that helmet, and she pulled it out. Really, really amazing result for Team Draft.
Yeah, absolutely awesome. Absolutely amazing result there for Team Draft. Really, really great to see the defense for Team Draft there. I think there was a little bit Fearless. I thought Team Fearless was going to pull it off. Jennifer timed that sprint.
No helmet.
Perfectly. I mean, absolutely perfectly. Mm-hmm. It was just a helmet. It really was just a helmet, it looked like to me. I mean, not to take anything away from Pitzer's result there. She really, that was perfectly timed. She got what she needed to make it happen there. But I think Jennifer might have used a power-up earlier in the race to bring back an attack over the top of that forward KOM. I think I remember earlier in the race we did see Jennifer with a little bit of a close down in order to bring that back. Let's go ahead and take a look at the replays here, though. This is what went down in the men's race across the line. We saw the attack there coming from Sagerbrook very early. We're still on a negative gradient at that point, just hitting the 300 meter to go mark there, up into that 16 watts per kilogram, 1,100 watts there coming from Sagerbrook as he absolutely is flying to the line. But here comes Lowe then, but at the last second there is the attack from Camus, from the indoor specialist, flying by 71 kilometers per hour from Sagerbrook, but it's Camus who comes flying by at 16 at the last second and able throw it down for the Indo specialist. Spencer Sagerbrook looks like he just holds on to the line.
That's right. Yep.
For second place, Alan Lowe What a result for Lowe, actually, as that was
Yeah,
quite
great result for
impressive.
Finesse.
I mean, Finesse, third place,
Hmm.
a podium result, bronze medal out there today. So these are preliminary results, everybody. So just so everybody
Right.
knows, these we are not giving you official results, just what we see across the line. It is when the official results will be coming from Zwift later in the week as soon as everything gets worked out. In the women's race, though, we obviously just saw an amazing finish between the ladies here. We saw Jennifer Reel trying to hold on to the wheel there of Pitzer, but she was able to grab that arrow power up 100 meters to go there. Jennifer, look at her come through. She's just almost able to grab onto the wheel, and maybe if she was on the wheel at this point, we might have seen a little bit more kick to the line there. It definitely was that arrow power up there, but it's going to be Pitzer followed up by Reel, and then Hugh there for the Stages cycling team there. So amazing result there for the ladies. Do we have the preliminary? Of course, we're going to have results, I think, for the men as they finished a little while ago.
Right.
Um,
Yeah,
but
we got for the men, Holden Camus, as we saw, then Spencer Sagerbrook, Alan Lowe, Neil Austenfeld, as I mentioned, were probably riding on rollers, managed to finish in fourth, followed by the national champion Adam Zimmerman, who's going to be turning that jersey over. I really do think Spencer, if this had been last year under the standard draft, that would have been a race-winning sprint that he put in. But those riders were just able to just hang on his wheel. Alan Lowe and Holden were just able to hang on that wheel, and Holden was able to slingshot around. But still Spencer Sagerbrook, second place in the U.S. National Championship. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him return next year with even a little bit more fire under his feet and try and take that jersey.
Yeah, absolutely. The Sagerbrook, I think you're absolutely correct there. The timing, he's played this over and over again, I think. I mean, we haven't seen him racing a whole lot on Zwift recently, but we've seen him in the past know that sprint. And the way that he
Hmm.
went in that sprint, it looked like the drag race sprint that he was used to, but with the double draft in there, I'm not sure that was going to be able to happen out there. So for the women's race, I don't think we've got the results quite populated just
Yeah, I'm not seeing him
yet.
yet.
We'll have to wait for that, but we did see in the replay there the obviously, I mean, pits are obviously across the line first from what we saw there. There was no question of
Oh,
the
you're
wheel
there.
lengths or anything, between them. Did they actually populate now? You got there in front of you there, Greg?
Yeah, I got him here. So we got Pitzer from draft takes the win, only 0.2 of a second behind Jennifer Reel from Team Fearless, followed by Julie Hu, and then Svetlana Javakayan. All that animation still ended up in fourth place, and Amanda Coker from the Show Air team rounding out the top five.
Nice. Well, man, I thought Coker was going to be able to throw down. I think she obviously looked super experienced out there today for, only being out for a couple of races so far. But in the end, I
That's
think
right.
there was just a reality that there was only the feather power up. She had to do a lot of the work to
Hmm.
close things down. There was just, I think, just a couple too many things not in her favor there in order to
Yeah.
in order to bring things into a solid sprint. It just looked like she was well over her threshold at that point, doing so much work. And Jennifer and Amanda Pitts were just sitting in, waiting. You know what I mean? Waiting for
Right.
that last moment, and had obviously an arrow power up to use there.
Yeah, you could tell that the pace of that race had taken their toll just in the way they sprinted. It was just such a nervous sprint. They were all just waiting, and to see Angela, I think she did use her power up at the right time. It seemed early, but she used it with 30 seconds to go. It's just that they didn't really start sprinting for probably till they were at 200 meters to go.
Yeah, it was really early use of it, and then didn't actually. She just kind of waited it out. It was like the arrow power up
Yeah.
actually went away
Well, she got.
before they even hit the line.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Maybe, you kind of get used to using that arrow power up when you think there are 30 seconds left in the race. But it might be that, you kind of need to adjust when it's a slower sprint. you need to use it a little bit later because you're not going to, the last 30 seconds of the race occur in a different place. So, that experience to know exactly when to use that power up and how to adjust your kind of rules of thumb about how to use it, that's all part of the experience of racing, which kind of makes it, even more impressive that someone like Spencer and some of these other riders who we don't see on, kind of throughout the year are able to do so well. They really are relying on their fitness. So just really impressive racing all around today.
Definitely. Now, I am getting a few messages about the Canadian National Championships. We would love to jump into them, you guys, and you'll have to check out the results for that over on ZP as well as the announcements later this week. I'm being told that Lionel Sanders is out there racing right now.
Wow.
So I mean, it sounds like things are really heating up in the Canadian National Championships that are going to be finishing or have finished at this point. I'm not positive they have come across the line just yet, but definitely be watching out for the results over on Zwift Power as well as the announcements of who was able to take down the W in the Canadian National Championships. We were unable to get that stream out to you guys. Apologies on that, but definitely, obviously, check out the results as well as announcements later in the week. Greg, amazing day of racing out
Nathan.
on Zwift.
Yep, that was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely awesome. Congratulations to all the racers out there. Obviously, these are all preliminary results. I want to make that super clear and be watching out for the official results later in the week. Great job to all the racers out there. And as always, everybody, thanks a lot for tuning in. Hit those follow buttons in all the places that you're currently watching for any time that we do go live. Watch out for Tuesday, round number 2 of the KISS Super League for the women, the men's racing on Wednesday, as well as the Community League on Thursday. Plenty of streaming happening this week with Zwift Racing, as well as all the other streamers that are out there in the community. Check them out. There's plenty of them happening as well. And as always, everybody, ride on.